Welcome back to the Today's Show special presentation as we are featuring our fundraiser for veterans down in Wisconsin, the USA. We love our big brother, the United States. So again, you're watching our flagship show, Toronto. We're also in New York and we're also across Ontario. So what we want to do right now is we want to welcome singer-songwriter Candice Asher to the show. Candice, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
Wow, I love your look.
Thank you.
Wow, you're sure are a performer. I can tell. So that's great. So thank you so much.
It's great to be here. It's a pretty gray day, so you bring some nice sunshine into the day.
That's great. So before we get into today's event, please do tell us about your career and the transitioning from moving from New York. As we know, New Yorkers they're a lot different than Nashville people, I assume.
Yes. Nashville's very different these days. It's really like a third coast. But I was doing the singer-songwriter thing in New York, and good Lord, Alicia Keys was up the hall, and my producers felt like I had an inflection that had a country energy to it, and I'm New York born. So somebody in the band said, go down to Nashville and check it out. He was a Kentucky guy and dreadlocks, bassist, and I really liked it here, and I was up for a move. A lot of converging moments met, and it was just the right place, the right time. And interestingly enough, when I got here, they thought that my sound was too urban. And so, it's music business. I wound up getting a lot of good connections in Europe and parlayed some of my background as a translator into negotiating a German record contract. And I toured a lot of Europe and had a couple of top fives at independent radio. And so, all based out of Nashville.
That's amazing because the competition must be extremely harsh.
It is. And it's kind of interesting in that it helped me consider Europe,
And what do you find some of the biggest differences dealing with Nashville people versus New York people?
Straight upness.
Oh, really?
It's like New York, you have something
you know what you get.
Yeah. Say it. In Nashville, you beat around the bush. You may not ever get to the bottom of the story.
Does it feel different? Like does the lifestyle feel a lot different too from New York to Nashville?
It's changed. I mean, it's such a global village nowadays that everywhere, and we're all going through a lot of collective issues. So it feels less different than it used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being up here in Toronto, we're so like everybody has their own image of Nashville. Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell. So tell us a little bit of the flavor.
Even with those two examples, those two guys couldn't be more different in some ways, And then Americana came into the equation, which was really sort of a melting pot place for people who are a little bit of this and a little bit of that and not quite mainstream country. And then, of course, everything is popified, sonically, so it's people from all aspects of the industry live here now, all genres.
So how long have you been relocated?
I'm here 20 years now.
20 years. So
yeah.
Can you share, is there any memorable stories over the 20 years? Maybe share one or two that you might have with us?
Rein me in a little bit. There's lots of them.
Just okay, put it this way. Maybe who sort of buckled your knees? Have you met anybody who sort of buckled your knees? Like, oh my goodness, like, wow, I've listened to you for 20 years or 30 years and now I'm standing in front of you.
I was lucky in that I got a sense to experience the old guard.
Okay.
So it's like there would be the best players from everybody's records.
That's my dog in a background.
Okay. Hi, puppy. Like tonight I have people who have backed legends playing with me at the Wisconsin Dells. They backed Vince Gill and Roy Orbison and Nancy Griffith, and so Michael McDonald. So I had the good fortune of catching that wave, people hang out at each other's houses. It's a big day in the home studio. There's a big lunch break, and I was embraced, and I might have just come in with half a song, and people notice that, I seem to write well, and I was moved along. I don't know what it's really like now because it's very different, and I went off on my own trajectory.
Have you ever been told that you kind of sound like you have a music voice? Like when you talk, you sound like it's almost like you're singing a little bit. Like
I love that.
very soulful, like very full
Thank
voice.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like soothing almost when you talk.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So tell
you.
us, what I'm going to do is I want to, and then we're going to take a break, and I want to see more, talk about what you're doing tonight and how we can further, showcase the veterans on. But before we do that, is there any sort of where do you get your inspiration? Because I know it's so difficult to write songs. It's very difficult. Like it's, you either can do it or you can't do it. So where would you get your inspirations from?
I'm affected by issues. Like the last two songs, and both of them are in tonight's set. One is about the pandemic,
Okay.
And pandemics are like, social, transformational, status quo disrupting game changers. So I wanted to capture that. And then the other one is a racial justice tune,
Oh,
and so
wow.
I just get, and I'm pretty, I follow a strong, like, spiritual fitness path, you might say,
Nice.
and so I stay tuned in, and, I think there's no, shortage of great stuff going on. It's easy to miss the forest for the trees out there with all the noise, but I think that my years of being, in the arts, I just have a lens and a filter that keeps me within, and it saves me, actually.
Well, that's such a great observation, because I think music is a lifesaver for so many people. Like myself, even though I MC, I play a
Yep.
little bit of music, but I just started playing guitar since the pandemic started, and I'm terrible, but I play every day, and
Awesome.
it's a zen thing for me. It's just after
Totally.
work, I get home, instead
Totally.
of turning on the TV and hearing everybody yell at each other about how good they are and how bad the other person is you know what?
Correct.
Get the guitar out, get my SG out, and play a little bit, or just
Yeah.
fool around. But it's
Yeah.
like you said, it's so zen.
I think it might have been Meryl Streep who said, "Make art, not war."
Great, that's a great song. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about your involvement today in other music gems. So stay tuned. You're watching the Today Show Toronto. On the show today, we have singer-songwriter Candice Asher, who's going to be performing tonight at Wisconsin Dells for our fundraiser for veterans. So thank you so much for that, Candice, and we'll be right back after these short commercial messages.
Thank you, Jay.